Yes, we can pass on the next awards.
സ്വതന്ത്ര ചിന്താ ലോകത്തിലെ ഒരു നക്ഷത്രം തന്നെയാണ് ശ്രീമതി തസ്ലിം. അവർക്ക് എന്റെ ഈ കൈകൾ അറ്റുപോയിട്ട് തുന്നിച്ചേർത്ത ഈ കൈകൾ കൊണ്ട് പുരസ്കാരം നൽകുന്നത് എന്നെ സംബന്ധിച്ചും എന്റെ കൈകൾക്കും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ മനസ്സിനും അത്യധികം എന്താണ് പറയേണ്ടത് ആഹ്ലാദകരമായിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു സംഗതിയാണ്. ജീവിതത്തിന്റെ ഒരു പകുതിക്കാലം കഴിഞ്ഞതിന് ശേഷമാണ് എനിക്ക് ഈ പറയുന്ന മതന്തയുടെ പേരിലത് ഭയപ്പെടേണ്ടി വന്നത്. പക്ഷേ ജീവിതകാലം തുടങ്ങുന്ന സമയത്ത് തന്നെ യുവതിയായിരിക്കുമ്പോൾ തന്നെ മതന്തയുടെ പേരിൽ വേട്ടയാടപ്പെട്ട് ഇപ്പോഴും ഭയത്തിന്റെയും വിഫലതയുടെയും കരുതലിൽ കഴിയുന്ന അവർക്ക് എല്ലാവിധ നന്മകളും ഉണ്ടാവട്ടെ എന്ന് ആശംസിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് ഈ അവാർഡ് നേടിയ അവരെ അഭിനന്ദിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് വീണ്ടും ലോകത്തിന്റെ വെളിച്ചമായി തുടരാൻ ഇടവരട്ടെ എന്ന് ആശംസിച്ചുകൊണ്ട്
Thank you so much, Professor Joseph. Now we invite Dr. Taslima Nasrin to address the gathering and share her words with us. Welcome, ma'am.
Hello, Moto.
Thank you.
Award
Thank you to Litmus 25 and to each of you here, atheists, rationalists, secularists and free thinkers. To receive a Lifetime Achievement Award among such a gathering, there is no greater honor I can imagine. We stand together, thousands of minds unafraid of truth, thousands of hearts free from superstition. There is no such, this is not just a conference. This is a declaration. Belief is personal, but criticism is essential. By supporting women's rights everywhere, I have criticized all kinds of religions and all kinds of patriarchal traditions, cultures, and customs. To Muslim extremists, I am labeled a Muslim hater. Some even claim Taslima is not an atheist. She is anti-Islam. Let me be perfectly clear. I am no hater. Anti-Islam, Islamophobe, what do these labels even mean? Must an atheist be a devotee of Islam? They demand to know, if I am truly an atheist, why I do not criticize religions other than Islam. The truth is, I critically scrutinize all religions. They see it, yet they choose to pretend they do not. Because once they succeed in branding me as anti-Islam, they imagine my voice will lose its force. But let me be clear, if anyone expects me to distribute my criticism evenly, exactly the same amount to every faith as I do to Islam and its fundamentalism, they are gravely mistaken. My criticism is proportionate to the harm a religion inflicts. The more a religion violates human rights, oppresses women, fosters intolerance, and spreads cruelty and barbarism, the more I will challenge it. So I ask you, which religion's extremists terrify the world today? Which religion's extremists terrify the world today? Who kills non-believers in its name? Who hacks writers and critics to death? Whose cartoons set the world on fire? Buddhas, Krishnas, Rams, Jesus, Moses, or Muhammad's? From which religion do terrorists repeatedly emerge to spread terror worldwide? Which religion forces women to veil their bodies from head to toe to surrender their very freedom? I have always stood beside the oppressed, whoever they are. I have defended Muslims whenever they were oppressed, just as I defended Hindus oppressed in Bangladesh or Christians oppressed in Pakistan. To me, religious identity is irrelevant. Human beings may believe or not believe, but no one should be oppressed for their belief or non-belief. I have always stood firmly for that principle. My criticism of religion is expressed through writing. I do not harm believers physically. I do not believe in violence. But fanatics refuse to engage in dialogue or debate or to respond through writing. Instead, they come to kill me because their faith teaches them that an apostate must be killed. Some people still like to claim that Islam is a religion of peace, but since my childhood, I have witnessed quite the opposite. I believe no country has ever become civilized without criticizing the dogmatic practices of its religions. Without separating state and religion, no state or society has ever become moral. Should Islam continue to remain untouchable? Many intellectuals who themselves enjoy the benefits of secularism in their own countries refuse to criticize the Islamic oppression of women, fearing that it might hurt the religious sentiments of Muslims. But I ask, should things remain as they are? Should women continue to suffer in silence? Without criticism of Islam, it will never be possible to replace Quranic education with secular education. Never be possible to end Islam-based politics. And if that doesn't happen, Islamic states will remain in darkness forever. Women will never enjoy the right to live as full human beings. As a child, I was forced to read verses from the Quran, but I could not understand the meaning of the words I recited. Like other children, I was merely parroting sounds. Our language was Bengali, not Arabic. No matter how many times I repeated and memorized the verses, I had no way of knowing what I was saying. I was told that Allah wanted the Quran to be read in its original language. But that only made me more curious to know its meaning. One day, I discovered a Bengali translation of the Quran. I read it, every word of that so-called holy book. And guess what? I became an atheist. I did not need to read any book on atheism, secularism, or humanism to become an atheist. I still believe that for Muslims, the Quran itself is the best book to inspire atheism. As I grew up, I realized that, like other religions, Islam is not compatible with human rights, women's rights, freedom of expression, or democracy. In a true democracy, separation of religion and state is absolutely essential. There can be no women's rights under religious law. There can be no human rights in a society governed by religious rules. Freedom of speech and expression must include the right to differ, to offend, as well as to praise. A truth that most people in many countries neither know nor accept. Without the right to offend, freedom of expression cannot exist. And without freedom of expression, democracy will not work. Islam does not regard women as independent human beings. Man is seen as the original creation and woman as a secondary being created for the pleasure of man. Islam treats a woman as a slave or a childbearing machine or a sexual object, nothing more. Her role is to stay at home and obey her husband. Women are considered weak, and therefore their bodies, minds, desires, and freedoms must be controlled by men. Islam views women as intellectual, moral, and physical inferiors. In marriage, it protects the rights of men and men only. Once a marriage is consummated, women have virtually no rights within it. The Quran itself declares, "Your women are your fields. Go unto them as you will." Islam considers women psychologically inferior. A woman's testimony is not allowed in cases of marriage and divorce. If any woman is raped, she must produce 4 male witnesses before the court. If she cannot, there is no charge against the rapist. In Islamic law, the testimony of 2 women equals that of 1 man. In a case where a man suspects his wife of adultery or denies the legitimacy of his offspring, his single testimony equals that of 4 witnesses. A woman does not have the right to charge her husband in a similar manner. Women are not allowed to inherit property on equal terms with their brothers. In the case of inheritance, Allah says that a male shall inherit twice as much as a female. And after all the rights and freedoms, after obtaining all the sexual pleasures and the pleasure of being the master, Allah will reward men with wine, food, and 72 virgins in paradise, including the wives they had on earth. And what is the reward for the pious women? Nothing. Nothing but the same old husband, the same man who caused her suffering while they were on earth. It was easy for me to become an atheist. I was a student of science, so it was hard to accept that the sun moves around the earth, that the moon has its own light, or that the purpose of mountains is to support the earth so it will not fall down somewhere. I came to suspect and later to be sure that the Quran was not written by someone who had any knowledge of science. Not only did I read the Quran, I also read the Hadith, the words of Muhammad. I found many events in the Prophet Muhammad's life in which, whenever he faced a problem, Allah conveniently solved it for him. For example, when he was sexually aroused after seeing his daughter-in-law, Allah sent him a message saying that he could marry her because his son was adopted and therefore not his real son. So the marriage was justified. Further, he created a new rule. Muslims would no longer be allowed to adopt children. Muhammad married 11 times, one of his brides being 6-year-old Aisha. He said, Allah told him that he was allowed to enjoy his wives, his female slaves, and all the captive women he possessed. Even though widow marriage was legal at the time, he made it illegal for men to marry any of his wives after his death. It became clear to me that Muhammad had written the Quran for his own interest, for his own comfort, and for his own pleasure. When I studied other religions, I found that they too oppress women. I'm sure you have often heard that Islam does not support the killing of innocent people, that Allah of the Holy Quran never advocates killing, and that such acts are the work of a few misguided individuals at the fringes of society. We are told that Islam means peace, that Islam means tolerance. But is this true? Does Islam really preach peace, tolerance and non-violence? Those Muslims who perpetrate crimes in the name of Allah think otherwise. They believe what they do is jihad or holy war. They believe that killing non-believers is mandatory for every Muslim. Those who blow up their own bodies to kill people of different faiths do so because they believe they will be rewarded in paradise. They hope to be blessed by Allah, to eat celestial food, drink pure wine, and enjoy the company of virgins. When the Prophet was in Mecca, I think, and still not powerful, he called for tolerance, saying, "To you be your religion and to me mine." The famous quote is often misused to prove that the general principle of the Quran is one of tolerance. He advised his followers to speak kindly to their enemies, exhorted them to be patient, and said there is no compulsion in religion. But all that changed drastically when he came to power. Then killing and slaying non-believers was justified in countless verses with harshness and without mercy. The verses quoted to prove Islam's tolerance ignored the many others that bear no trace of tolerance or forgiveness. The Prophet himself set an example of violence by invading Jewish settlements, breaking treaties he had signed with them, and banishing some after confiscating their belongings, massacring others, and taking their wives and children as slaves. To his soldiers, he distributed the women captured in his raids, keeping the prettiest for himself. These are not stories but records from authentic Islamic history of a peaceful saint or of someone who claimed to be the mercy for all creation. I have been fighting every day against injustice and inequality, against religious terrorism and superstition, against bigotry and obscurantism. I have been fighting for human rights, women's rights, freedom of expression, and humanism. I do not fear to tell the truth. And I call upon you, atheists, rationalists, secularists, and free thinkers. Stand firm. Speak, write, protest, educate, mentor, defend the silenced. Do not whisper when voices must roar. Do not compromise when truth must be spoken. Do not bow when reason demands defiance. Together, we will tear down walls of religious extremism. Together, we will bring light to the darkness. This is our duty. This is our honor. This is our fight. Let us be fearless. Let us be relentless. Let us be unshakable. We are the bearers of reason. We are the defenders of free speech and human rights. We are the voices of the oppressed. Let's secularize people and society to cultivate a scientific temper and to liberate the world from religious bigotry and superstition. And in the end, truth will outlast tyranny, justice will triumph over oppression, and reason will conquer fear. I have been living in exile for 31 years. I was thrown out of my country 31 years ago. My crime was, I said, religious scriptures are out of time and out of place. You know, I have no home. I'm a Bengali writer, but I have no place in Bengal. Bangladesh expelled me. Even West Bengal threw me out of the country for no fault of mine. But I have a home. My home is the heart of every rationalist, the heart of every free thinker, the heart of every secularist, the heart of every humanist. Their solidarity is my shelter, their love is my country. I regret nothing. I will not retreat. Until my last breath, I will fight against fundamentalism, against extremism, against intolerance. I will fight for freedom, for equality, for human dignity. I, for one, will not be silenced. I will not be silenced, come what may. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for those inspiring words. So now we'll have a quick photo session. So please come forward, photo session. Thank you, Dr. Taslima Nasrin, for those inspiring words, and thank you, Professor P.J. Joseph, for praising this moment. This ceremony is a reminder that flame of reason, freedom and humanism alive. Once again, let's give them a huge round of applause. And I'm welcoming all the awardees and presenters onto the stage once again for a grand photo session. Please come forward. All the presenters and awardees.